What comes to mind when you hear the word Earth? Some say it is our home, entitling themselves to its resources, but its tenants often ignore obligations of protection and maintenance. Ideally, life should be flourishing across our planet to create a breathtaking, stunning sphere of existence. So serene, so beautiful that human life can find no other rival to this geosphere in the entirety of the universe. Naturally self-sustaining, with uninterrupted peace, balance, and beauty. This should be Earth. But what do we have instead? Poisoned, suffocated, trampled, and destroyed by us humans. We are the infection that has dismembered the planet and only have the decency to wrap it with bandages of concrete and metal. Only some of us recognize how we have terrorized our planet, so it is time for more of us to awaken from this nightmare. Wake up before the fever, caused by the infection that is us, burns the earth to ashes.
This is.
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 This is not Earth.
Not the earth it should be. Never before have we had such an urgency to save and protect this planet, our only home. Its inhabitants have proven to be quite the handful, as populations rise to more than 7 billion and counting. We, as humans, have the achievements of remarkable cognitive intelligence, evolution, language, and technological advancements proudly under our belts. But what is our biggest flaw? Waste. No other species on this planet generates as much waste as we do. They've lived as they have for millions of years, adapting to the ever-changing environment, rarely taking more than they need. Humans terminate anything that does not fit into their blueprints. But if we want the Earth to be habitable in the decades or even centuries ahead, we need to make changes to our habits now. The planet we call home is dying faster than we think. Whether it's to stop or just delay this ticking time bomb, we've hit our peak and anything is worth the effort from this point on. Rather than renovating our planet, extracting from its very essence, it is time to redevelop the hardwired mindset of our entire population. Sustainability is what we should strive for. How we move, what we use, and what we consume. The problems that our activities cause and how we can fix them. This is our message. Because this is not Earth. It's no secret that we have a desire to match the pace of our accelerating world. The need to feel connected and accessible to each other has become a vital factor for the cohesive nature of modern society. With the development of gas-fueled motor vehicles, train systems, and aircrafts, humans have found more efficient ways of getting from place to place. What would have taken weeks or months 100 years ago only takes a matter of hours to get to today. Along with transportation methods, the routes that map out paths of travel also attract urbanization and development. Due to the appeal of accessibility and reduced distance to business centers, civilization tends to expand as far as transportation will allow us to go, which means we are everywhere. Sadly, this entails that the dirt on our shoes leave our footprints everywhere as well. In Canada, transportation remains to be the single largest source of air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. The sheer number of gas vehicles on roads today represents how rarely we see willingness to walk or bike to a destination that can be driven to, and this is majorly due to convenience and the luxury that comes with it.
Social and economic expansion leads to multiplying numbers of vehicles on our roads,
Urban development promotes these car-dependent communities, and so distant travels have become a daily regimen for many, but difficult to perform sustainably for most. Business centers, where most people work, are often also where land is valued the highest, according to the bid-rent theory, which means that most of the population finds it easier to live further away from city centers. Although this may be beneficial financially for individuals, the environment still suffers, as there are millions of cars emitting harmful gases going hundreds of kilometers every single day for hours at a time. This perplexing, yet seemingly unavoidable, need for every single person to own and drive their own cars is the sad reality. Congestion worsens as populations continue to grow past the threshold of the land, and the quality of the environment suffers for it. The air, rain, water, and soil turns impure and grimy with pollutants. With it, all the living organisms dependent on natural habitats live and die in misery, without being at fault for their own deaths. But why can't we just limit the number of vehicles if they're such a big issue? Old habits stick with you, so if this has been the way of life for humans for generations, we can't just expect 7.6 billion people to have a change of heart overnight. Not only that, but factors we can't control as individual consumers have to be considered as well. A land's geographical features, distances from city to city, and money the country has available to spend on transport innovations are all obstacles that we have to overcome. Without the proper incentives and funding, we are looking at a problem that is much deeper than how often your family drives to go grocery shopping. Anyone who has ever seen a city's roads will know that these concrete jungles extend as vines that twist underground, on the surface, and even into the skies. Swarming these concrete vines and infecting our atmosphere with their toxic gas emissions are millions of cars, trucks, and other transport vehicles. Pollution is everywhere. Our air blinds and suffocates us, our water poisons us, and the noises deafen us. Going for a walk, a ride, strolling around the hectic city, or just staying at home with the windows open, guess what? You're not getting away from the pollution, and neither is the wildlife. Air pollution in particular can worsen asthma symptoms, induce lung cancer, lead to heart disease, and many other health issues in humans. Children are especially susceptible to developing asthma and other respiratory illnesses under the polluted conditions during their developmental stages, where their bodies are unable to process and get rid of pathogens. The World Health Organization estimates that around 4.6 million people die each year due to air pollution alone. So if these conditions don't change soon, these numbers are bound to get worse. Any automobile that burns gas will emit and leave oils, grease, harmful metals, and other contaminants that may eventually wash from our streets into our water. And since a lot of these substances, especially oil, are not water-soluble, they will spread over vast bodies of water without dissolving, until unfortunate animals and humans end up consuming them. Every year, oil spills release millions of liters of harmful hydrocarbon gases across hundreds of square kilometers of oceans. And a single oil spill can take years for ecosystems to recover from. Not many think of noise pollution as an issue. However, it has been a growing concern as more and more vehicles enter our already polluted world. Some studies have even shown correlations between the non-stop annoying background noises and serious health issues such as hearing loss, hypertension, high stress levels, sleep disturbances, and even reduced cognitive abilities. How appealing does that sound? To animals, especially those who have more sensitive hearing and depend on it for survival, are faced with even more devastating consequences. Predators that hunt by ear often starve because our cities drown out the sounds of their prey. Passing ships can interfere with marine animals' sonar and navigation systems in a way that it may cause them to get separated from their kin, lose sense of direction, and even lose the ability to hear over time. For the sake of our own health and that of every other living thing sharing this planet with us, we should consider more sustainable ways to get around. Be it small devices, light bulbs, display signs, or larger appliances like washing machines, heaters, refrigerators, or even cars, We're using energy at any given moment. Electricity powers almost anything that we consider as essential to our lives today. In more economically developed countries especially, electronics are so accessible to us that we never give them a second glance. When was the last time you went a day without using any electricity or fuel? It's unlikely that such a day will pop into mind. The sad reality is that people are not conscious of the amount of energy they constantly consume, meaning that they are also unaware of how much is wasted. Chances are that you aren't even aware of how much power is required to play this documentary. In the 4 kilowatts that it takes to watch the full screening of this documentary, you could have run through 5 cycles of your drying machine. Don't turn it off though, we still have a point to make. Speaking truthfully, it would be difficult to change the habits of the billions contributing to this problem. We take advantage of what resources we have without bothering to consider what life would be like without them. Imagine a life without electrical energy. This screen would be black, nights would be truly dark, our climate would not be interfered with air conditioners and heaters, and you would probably have to cook with an open flame. So why is using so much energy a concern? According to global energy statistics, Canada alone consumed 287 million tons of oil equivalent in 2017, which is approximately 3.3 trillion kilowatt hours. How many documentaries could you watch with that? 34% of that energy was the consumption of oil, 35% from gas, 21% from electricity, 6% from coal, and 4% from biomass. Though Canada only consumed about 9% of China's total consumption, we consumed 3.5 times more energy per capita in the same year. That means that the amount of energy sustaining one person in Canada is more than enough to support 3 in China. Driving the car everywhere you go, leaving the lights on in an empty room, and leaving the heater or air conditioner on all day contributes to this number, and actually results in a lot of the energy going to waste. The consequence of having to generate so much excess electricity is the increase of greenhouse gas emissions. The combustion of fossil fuels such as oil, gas, and coal that made up 75% of Canada's energy consumption in 2017 are also leading factors to the copious amounts of carbon dioxide, methane gas, and nitrous oxide being released and trapped in the atmosphere every year. We, as individuals, need to change our daily habits if we want to save the environment. And we, as a country, need to rethink how we should approach energy consumption and production for the bigger picture. Bacon and eggs for breakfast with a glass of milk, a family at a dinner table munching on tenderloins and sausages, making a trip to your local fast food restaurant to grab a burger and chicken nuggets on the side. We stuff our mouths with whatever food we like without batting an eye. Disassociating ourselves with the food we consume is common, because we don't perceive food to be a topic to be contemplated upon. We eat for pleasure. However, what many of us fail to recognize is the tremendous impact the process required to cultivate our food, specifically animal agriculture, and the material we use to eat our food, from disposable knives to forks, has on the environment. Animal agriculture is one of the largest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. It solely accounts for 18% of all greenhouse gas emissions, while the transportation leg of this food operation is responsible for 13% of the total. It is undeniable that with the continuous growth of the human population comes an increasing demand for animal products, and it is about time that we take responsibility for our environmental damage. The stress that animal agriculture imposes on our society and environment is incredulous. Responsible for 91% of the Amazon forest destruction, using 34 to 76 trillion gallons of water annually, and taking up 45% of the Earth's total land, this is what impact the animal agriculture industry has. To produce a pound of beef, it takes around 1,800 gallons of water, whereas a pound of corn only takes about 147 gallons, meaning beef takes roughly 12 times more water to raise than it takes for corn to grow. Industries have been more than willing to use up precious resources like water to satiate increasing demands for these products. What we eat changes our planet's destiny. We can make a vast difference just by making more sustainable diet choices. This is not the only way we are eating up our planet's resources. Nowadays, the production of plastic is cheaper than that of paper, and single-use plastic is virtually everywhere, from plastic bags, plastic knives, forks and spoons, plastic straws, plastic water bottles, bubble teacups, styrofoam, and more. Just by taking a walk on a beach, anywhere around the world, you will always find some sort of plastic waste. Tons of plastic debris, containers, microscopic plastic pellets are discarded into the ocean annually, affecting more than 100,000 marine animals, while additionally polluting lands, rivers, coasts, and oceans. Why is plastic so appealing and convenient? Plastic is versatile, flexible, lightweight, waterproof, strong, and rigid, and it is cheap. These attractive qualities of plastic perpetuate the cycle of companies favoring plastic over paper. Although paper bags and other biodegradable options may be a little more costly than products made with plastic, plastic cannot beat paper's environmental friendliness. The long-term effects of plastic will eventually outweigh the cost of paper. Pollution is expensive. Plastic is evil. It is the cause of death of many marine and land animals, the environment, and humans, as chemical toxins produced by plastic are carcinogenic. Therefore, it's important that we make an effort to stay away from plastic and replace it with eco-friendly paper or other biodegradable alternatives which will fulfill our needs but limit the damage on Mother Nature. This information shows us but a glimpse of how many resources are used up in both the production and the consumption of food.
Knowing that we're causing so many problems to this planet and to ourselves, how should we proceed? The destruction happening all around us, anyone can predict that this is going to lead to a devastating end. Maybe it already has, and now we have to suffer the consequences. So many issues are brought up with the topics that we've introduced. So what can we do to salvage what's left? The good news is that we still have a chance at preventing further decay and saving what we have. The only obstacle that exists is human will. But when hope is actually put into the works, the results are amazing.
I'm a grade 11 student in the IB program.
What does sustainability mean to you?
Recycling, reducing your carbon footprint, taking the bus.
Why are you passionate about the environment?
Because the city I live in, Vancouver, right? It's clean, it's close to nature. I go hiking with my friends.
What do you think is a common misconception about the topic of sustainability?
Just people thinking that they need to recycle and that's all they need to do for the environment, even though they're still driving cars that are not sustainable.
What is something that anyone can do to contribute towards a more sustainable planet?
Reducing your carbon footprint, be vegan, be vegetarian, start recycling.
What would you say to people who believe it's too late to save the planet?
Well, it's never too late to do anything, right? If we have that kind of attitude going forward, we're never going to progress as a society. People need to change that and realize that we can at least do something.
Do you see yourself thinking about the environment and sustainability a lot?
No.
Or not so much?
I waste paper a lot. I drive to school. No, I don't think I'm thinking about it as much as I need to.
Do you think that perhaps some of that can be attributed to education and the way the issues of sustainability are presented at school?
Yeah, I don't think we learned so much about sustainability. Some of our teachers just say recycling doesn't really matter. Your part won't make a difference. Save the planet.
Since the mid-19th century, British Columbia had one of the world's leading mine industries. Mining for metals, minerals, and coal was the province's largest economy for decades. For 70 years, starting in 1904, the Britannia mine in BC extracted ore from the rich deposits in the Britannia Mountains. Its high success rates made them the largest copper production in the British Commonwealth and the largest mine known to the British Empire. Despite the fact that they were commendable for mining 17% of the world's copper, they also produced far more waste. Massive quantities of metal sulfides released from mining reacted with water and oxygen to form acid rock drainage. Though this also occurs in nature, the vast quantities generated by unsustainable mining resulted in the devastating pollution of neighboring bodies of water, including creeks and Howe Sound's extensive network of fjords. Britannia became one of the worst polluters in North America. According to the Britannia Mine Museum, only 2 pennies worth of copper dissolved in a swimming pool is enough to harm marine life. But the mine was releasing about 69 pennies worth of copper into the oceans every minute. Towards sustainability meant there was not much effort being made to protect the land. Any attempts to reduce the amount of pollutants reaching water were only for economic purposes, not environmental. After its closure, mine owners installed an outflow pipe to redirect all the polluted water away from the majority of the marine life into deeper oceans. A dam was also later installed to keep the water out of the creeks. However, neither of these 2 solutions were sustainable, and the dam ended up failing in the late 1900s. Today, the mine water is treated at the Epcor Britannia Mine water treatment plant. The locals, along with the surrounding aquatic life, can rest comfortably, since all water now flows down into a single portal where plug and outlet pipes control the water's exit to Howe Sound. To go from being one of Canada's worst sources of pollution to sustaining a completely healthy environment more than a century later, the Britannia Mine should be seen as inspiring and admirable. Their efforts exemplify that we need to start putting in effort to improve the state of our planet. That's your proof. Solutions do exist. They just need to be understood and put into action, and that responsibility lies on the shoulders of everyone. Though this planet is big, to make a significant impact isn't as hard as you think. We have 7.6 billion pairs of hands to make change happen, and we're going to give some ideas to kickstart this movement.
My name is Danica Peng. I'm currently a grade 11 student from Richmond Secondary School, and I do a lot of environmental work within Mrkic-Subotic. This year, I was nominated as one of Canada's top 125 environmentalists, and I'm really passionate about sustainability and environmental sustainability as well. With my work, apart from being the president of my school's green team, I work with the environmental programs within the city of Richmond, where we do a lot of different programs trying to educate and maintain environmental sustainability within my community. I believe as youth, it's important for us to be aware of our environment and the impact we make every day within the work we are doing. For our environment, there's a lot of things we can help out with within Vancouver. There's a lot of big community within environmental sustainability, and there's a lot of ways we can help out. In Richmond, there's a program supported by the City of Richmond called the Green Ambassador Program, where it allows youth to teach others about environmental sustainability and what it means to be sustainable. With that, we do a lot of public awareness events within our community, where we do waste diversion events, we also do shoreline cleanups, and we also do invasive plant pulls, which all help out our community. And hopefully the work that we do is able to ripple towards other people, so they are able to know more about sustainability and our environment as well. So oftentimes with the work I do with sustainability, I come across a lot of climate change deniers or deniers of the environmental sustainability as well. If you believe that it's too late for us to change anything within our environment, my word for you is, if you believe that it's too late, then we should start somewhere. Because as I mentioned before with sustainability is the action of being able to sustain ourselves, but also sustain our environment for future generations to come. I immigrated here from Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong, there's not much discussion about environmental sustainability, and a lot of times people are not aware of what's going on with climate change or also the impacts that we are currently making. As I came to Vancouver, one thing that I really took for granted was fresh air, and I hope that in the future we are able to do as much as we can to be able to maintain fresh air, fresh water, and all the privileges that we are able to enjoy today for our future generations to come. Here in Metro Vancouver, we are very lucky that TransLink works very hard along with our local government to try and improve our transportation infrastructure as best as possible to make sure that the community members are able to use it. With TransLink, one campaign that they do annually is the International Walk to School Week. With that, we encourage students within our school to walk, bike, or transit to school. And I feel like it's very important that we have governments and also companies like TransLink to back us up and support us with the environmental projects that we're currently doing, as it really ripples and really makes an impact within promoting environmental sustainability and the importance of sustainable transportation. If I were to change anything about the current policies within Metro Vancouver regarding transportation, is that I hope that government will be interested in putting some incentives towards electric cars or more sustainable forms of transportation. With that being said, I feel like it's important for us to move away from the fossil fuel industry.
Staying mobile and connected plays such a vital role in today's modern lifestyle that it would be illogical to advocate for a complete ban on current transportation methods. After all, there were over 34 million registered motor vehicles in Canada in 2017. That's a lot, and the number is still growing. That being said, we should encourage a more sustainable way to get around. Both small habit changes and initiatives at the global level can alter the impact made by us on the environment. We had the opportunity to speak with a representative from TransLink's Sustainability Department. TransLink is a company whose projects include operating the world-renowned SkyTrain, C-Bus, and public bus systems in Metro Vancouver.
My name is Repta, and I am the Senior Sustainability Advisor at TransLink. So the steps that we do in Churchill as a sustainability team, we look at what can benefit the region as a whole and the individuals. So some of the biggest initiatives that we work on is, if we look at our fleet and we look at the impact of our fleet, well, the first thing we do is get people out of their cars into the system. So whether that's through walking and cycling infrastructure, the trains, the buses, West Coast Express, C-Bus. So it's kind of the first function, to give people a more sustainable option to travel to where they need to get to.
How many times have you been advised to walk or bike more, carpool, or take public transportation? Possibly more than you can count. However, you may not realize the difference that these small, easy steps can make on our environment. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, a typical passenger vehicle emits about 4.6 metric tons of carbon dioxide per year, which, to put into perspective, is equivalent to approximately 4,600 bottles of soda or 92 octopuses. This is only the amount of carbon dioxide produced by a single person. Now imagine how much carbon dioxide would be released into the environment if all 7.6 billion people on this planet also drove cars. That would be the equivalent of 699.2 billion octopuses.
So we have a fleet of around 1,500 buses. A core of them, 700 or 800, are still using traditional fossil fuels, diesel. So right now we're in an early implementation and planning stages of transitioning that fleet to low carbon or zero carbon emission fleet.
Just by reducing their use of a private motor vehicle, if one individual can make this big of an impact, imagine how much of a difference we can make together. Carpooling and taking public transportation are two of the simplest solutions that most of us can accomplish. And even if we can't prohibit people from owning a private vehicle, there still exists alternative solutions like transitioning from gasoline-powered vehicles to electric cars.
Even what I've seen in the transit industry in the last 5 years of really embracing battery bus technology, low emission fleets, it's been a drastic change. I think we're going to see that across the board.
Electrical engineering professor Oliver Truscases said in an interview with Global News that drivers won't have to pay for gas when using electric vehicles, and this means that you can save yourself a lot of money while reducing your carbon footprint on our environment simultaneously. Isn't this a win-win situation?
To people who say it's too late to save the planet, I say I don't think so. I probably used to think so about in my early 20s, but I'm a father now, and I kind of see the next generation coming up. And I believe in innovation, ingenuity, and I think there's more education now for the young generation, more access to information, which can be overwhelming at times, but I think that'll balance out. And I think as a species, we just want to thrive and survive. So I do not think that it's by any means too late to save the planet. Maybe, I don't know if the planet is saving, maybe it's us. But no, I think human innovation is a wonderful thing. If you look at what we've done, we're increasing service. We had 11 green last year. We're looking at the Millennium Broadway extension. We're looking at Surrey Light Rail. So we're looking at a lot of different, expanding the system, making it more user-friendly, and then our bus service too, getting to some regions that maybe are underserved or increasing frequency, looking at different B lines, and then of course new technology. So all that, and investing in walking and cycling infrastructure, which we do. So all that is kind of enhances the livability of the region. So at TransLink, we do have a sustainability policy, and one of the things it does mention is improving the kind of ecological well-being of the region. And as I mentioned earlier, I think, one of the real values we give people an option of getting out of their cars. So if you look at what, getting people out of their cars can do for their ecological well-being, of course it reduces air pollution, it reduces greenhouse gas emissions. It also, there's links to improvement of human health, of, taking transit services over single occupancy driving. Another thing that transit does, it creates a community. So wherever you look where a transit stop is, or like a transit center here, where a train will pull in, we're really building communities around kind of these transit stops. So it looks at, like, it promotes walking, it promotes cycling, it promotes staying within your community, not being reliant on a car, not having to drive half an hour to get groceries.
With energy playing such a huge role in our everyday lives, there are actually many ways we can change our consumption habits. On the larger scale, possible solutions for reducing energy waste is simply to start implementing innovative technology that's targeted at improving the efficiency of our devices. Improving efficiency means that we need to minimize the amount of energy we input, while still somehow maximizing the end products. A common example that you might be thinking of is the usage of light bulbs. The traditional incandescent light bulb's efficiency is between 10 to 20%, while LEDs achieve values between 40 to 50%. Though this means that there is a 50 to 60% heat loss, it is still significantly more efficient and can last for 25 times longer than an incandescent light bulb. We, of course, can't leave out the fact that most of us forget to stay conscious of our usage of electronic devices. How often do you leave your laptop or phone chargers plugged in even when they don't need to be? When was the last time you reminded yourself to unplug all the electronics not in use at home? See, we've been hearing our teachers encouraging these habits since elementary school, but most of us never take these suggestions to heart. There is truth to what they say, and if all of us just listened to this advice, we could actually make a huge difference with just this small change of habit. For example, you should unplug your computers and laptops. Even when the computer itself is turned off, the combined power draw of a cable, a wireless router, and a computer printer can exceed 50 watts. This is enough energy to light a bright incandescent light bulb. Think about it. Do all of us really need to leave our computer monitors, microwaves, printers, and televisions plugged in and running all the time? All of these devices use up standby power when plugged in, even when they're turned off. Standby power alone contributes to approximately 10% of the electricity used in Canadian homes. Wouldn't your electricity bills cause less headaches if you could take out $100 for every $1,000 on your bill from just simply unplugging devices that aren't in use? You would be saving both energy and your hard-earned money. It really is so easy to reduce the energy we use just from changing small habits. If you alone could reduce 10% of the energy you consume, how huge of an impact can be made if everyone committed to these changes together? A little food for thought the next time you charge your phone.
My name is Patricia Lightburn. I'm the Manager of Science and Policy at the David Suzuki Foundation. The David Suzuki Foundation is one of Canada's most prominent and oldest environmental organizations that works to protect the environment that we live in. And specifically, my team is focused on climate solutions in British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and across Canada. I'm passionate about the environment because I realize how lucky we are to live in this beautiful place, especially in British Columbia. We are blessed with so many natural resources. I think there's a misconception that environment and economy are in competition with each other and that you can't have both. In fact, I think living in harmony with the environment is the best way to achieve a sustainable economy for the future. I think the opportunities for a sustainable economy vast outweigh some of the other traditional economies that we've been investing in the past. There's absolutely things that everybody can do to contribute to a sustainable lifestyle, from walking to work or taking the bus, or reducing your consumption of products from plastics to clothes to straws. I would say that there's no limit to what human ingenuity can accomplish. I mean, I think that if people spent a little bit more time outside in nature every day, then protecting the environment would be much more obvious. The more time we spend in malls and suburbia and in our cars, the less we understand why these investments and policies are needed in Canada and around the world to protect what we have. But if you spend time in this beautiful park, even in the middle of the city, you feel better, you're healthier, you're more productive, you live better together with your fellow society. So we need to protect what we have. I think cities have been at the forefront of climate action in Canada and around the world. They're using what regulatory tools that they have and financial tools that they have to make real changes to the impact that we have on the environment, from sustainable buildings to renewable energy to public transit to greater mobility for bicycles and walking. Cities can make a huge difference, and we're seeing that across communities traditionally from conservative areas and from more liberal areas. Oxford County, for example, in Ontario is a very conservative municipality, and they've made a commitment to be 100% fossil-free renewable energy. So other cities like Banff, Edmonton, Regina, and Saskatchewan, it's happening across Canada. And I would say federally, in the past several years, the federal government has moved to introduce some of the most progressive climate policies anywhere in the world, including a comprehensive price on carbon, which is something that we've lived with in BC successfully for years, but it's time that it gets spread across to the rest of the country, so it's really exciting that that's happening. I would say forgiving, because the planet has an amazing ability to regenerate itself. We see, especially in BC coastal communities, that where we make investments in protecting the environment comes back. So we see herring coming back, salmon coming back, orcas coming back. So if we make those investments, the earth will give us a positive return on those investments. I would say precious, because without air and water and the earth, we will not live very long on this planet. So we need to treasure what we have and protect it so that we can sustain ourselves and the environment around us. And a third word, just inspiring.
Luckily, as for the plastic waste, Metro Vancouver's recent law to ban plastic straws, polystyrene foam cups, and takeout containers has passed and will go into effect on June 1st, 2019. Although not all plastic will be eliminated and banned from use, this is a monumental step towards attaining a plastic-free city. As individuals, we can also take steps such as limiting our use of plastic by bringing our own bags to grocery stores, bringing our own cups to cafes, and using our own containers. But of course, a systematic change would be much more effective in the elimination of plastic, as we cannot avoid living our lives without coming across this material. The Green Ambassadors program, partnered with the City of Richmond and the Richmond School District, is where students with a passion for environmentalism gather to volunteer and promote environmental sustainability. As a few of us production team members are partaking in this program, we are proud to say we've expanded our knowledge of sustainability and our environment, and we still continue to learn and grow every day. Recently, we learned through one of the meetings that starting on June 1st, 2018, Recycle BC introduced a project to collect other flexible plastic packaging. Flexible plastic packaging is one of the fastest growing packaging types on the market and the largest category of packaging. With more accessible options available for us to sustainably dispose of our plastic items, this offers a much easier path towards environmental health. So make sure you start recycling those grocery bags you have lying around. The David Suzuki Foundation provides us with further suggestions on tackling the food waste issue. The organization believes that this issue can be approached by taking small steps. Starting with something as simple as a meal plan can make a huge difference in how much food is consumed versus wasted. The David Suzuki Foundation advises us to buy the food we need now and eat the food we plan to eat. In their words, you'll be rewarded with a clean conscience, a healthier planet, and a fatter wallet. In addition to controlling food waste, what we eat requires attention too. As previously mentioned, animal agriculture plays a huge role in the CO2 greenhouse gas emissions and is responsible for major energy waste and water consumption. Let's get some numbers in here to put all this in perspective. According to studies done by Cornell University, meat production consumes copious amounts of energy to produce small quantities of product. The ratio of energy consumed to protein output for chicken meat is 4:1, 13:1 for turkey, 14:1 for milk, 17:1 for pork, 26:1 for eggs, 50:1 for lamb, and a whopping 54:1 for beef. Wow. Hearing this, we can see that reducing meat consumption will significantly diminish our carbon and ecological footprint, remove the demands for such products, and prevent further production. The idea of resorting to a more plant-based diet may seem daunting and even impossible in the beginning, but this is why taking small steps and gradually making our way up to eliminating the need for mass meat production is crucial. It is about doing what we can while we still have the time.
My name is Natasha, Mrkic-Subotic. I'm an instructor and educator at Langara College. So sustainability is all about the environment. It's all about saving humanity, saving our Earth, so that humans can live on Earth. So it encompasses a lot of things. So that's kind of the short answer. If we don't engage in sustainability, or if we don't believe in sustainability, we won't have an Earth where we can live, where we can, where we can survive. So I'm passionate about doing as much as I can and helping others understand and do as much as they can in order to do that. Right. So there's three pillars for me. There's three pillars for sustainability. There's the economy, there's the community, and there's our environment as well. So it's really a whole big circle that we need to pay attention to. A common, I guess it's that it's the government's responsibility, or it's industry's responsibility, or that it's some higher power's responsibility to think about the environment or to think about sustainability. It really boils down to all of us individually to look at our daily practices, our things that we can do. So it's a common misconception is I can't do anything because of climate change. I can't change climate change. I can't change the fact that there's straws in our restaurants, which we don't have anymore, thankfully. I can't do anything. That's a common misconception, whereas all of us can do something. So definitely what we have here in Vancouver, composting, big, huge, right? Trying to limit packaging, any sort of packaging. So maybe buying at farmers markets, buying local food. I know it's a little bit pricier, but buying local food is definitely more sustainable than having it transported from California or from Hawaii or from wherever. Buying foods that are in season, right? There's no reason why we should be eating watermelon in the winter, right? Or cherries in the winter. Limiting our consumption of meat is another thing. So really choosing those changing our dietary habits, I think. Avoiding plastic bags. Did I mention those already? Trying to take the bus, trying to walk more, right? We're lucky. We live in a beautiful city where you can all walk. A lot of things that we can individually do. 3 words. Action. We need to take action. Like all of us individually, we need to take action in our homes, in our schools, in our communities, in our workplaces. So we need to do little things that will benefit the earth, right? Love. We need to love. We need to love, again, our environment. We need to love our planet. We need to love humanity in order to do this. And community, definitely. Building communities, building, partnerships between organizations and students and corporations even. We need to get all of the players involved. Governments too, right? So I think those 3 words would kind of sum it up. Community, action, and love. But I think you're on a much better path than we were, for sure. Whether it's integrated, no. Our whole education system needs to be revamped with those things in mind. I think here in BC, we've started with the elementary school curriculum. It's slowly trickling into the high schools, but it's not in the colleges. Like it's not in the university, it's not in higher education yet. So I guess by the time maybe the elementary school kids get to the college or university levels, there will be more. Can we do more? Oh, absolutely. I think it's everybody's responsibility to think of themselves as change makers. So you should all be change makers. We should all be change makers, and we should be thinking about, sustainability, earth, social innovation, social responsibility, and community, while being change makers, right? right? So it's everybody's responsibilities. Nobody can tell you what to do, nobody can tell me what to do, but if you think of yourself as a change maker and you just think of those things that will improve our environment and our planet, that's definitely a way to go. So it's about changing mindsets, really. And it does start with education, you're right.
From what we consume to what we produce, food, plastic, greenhouse gas emissions, all of our choices determine how we impact our environment.
This planet is our planet, but this ownership also comes with the responsibilities and obligations of protection and maintenance. Its resources are here for us to consume wisely. Its beauty is ours to cherish, and the natural environment is ours to sustain.
In the time that we've spent together, we've discussed the many ways that human activities harm the environment, specifically transportation, food and plastic production, and energy consumption.
We've heard from passionate individuals from our communities who have shared their keen insight and expertise with us. Looking at the bigger picture, there are so many ways in which we can each contribute to a more sustainable lifestyle.
In the end, it comes down to this. The way we are now, this is not Earth. Our home can be so much more than what we've reduced it to.
A mere playground for us to toy with destruction on.
This is our home, our environment, and our responsibility. Let's own up to the mistakes that we've made as a species.
This is our Earth.